Hi, Aaron Chambers here. Welcome to episode 41 of Enjoy the Journey with Aaron Chambers. I'm so glad that you found my podcast or that you are a regular subscriber and listener. If you like my podcast, if you'd like it, subscribe to it, give it 5 stars, follow it, share it. All those things would be so helpful. Yeah, I am going to talk today with Rod Jones, who is the director of replenished.org. I got to know Rod on a retreat that I spent with him. And speaking of retreats, I understand when the rhythms of life can get out of balance, which we're going to talk about in this episode. And so knowing that, I will often push away from the table and take a break and say no to some things so I can say yes to other things that are important to me. So I haven't recorded a podcast in a couple months, and I know you'll understand that it's important to rest and to devote my energy to other things right now. But I'm excited to be back in podcasting again. I have some exciting episodes coming up that I can't wait for you to hear. If you have any suggestions of guests with whom you'd like me to talk, if you would send those to me, that'd be fantastic. You can write me at Aaron, ARRON, at aaronchambers.com, and I'd love to hear from you. But in this episode, you're going to find a lot of practical advice about rest, about healthy rhythms, and we're going to give you a tool that you can actually use to decide whether or not you are demonstrating healthy rhythms in your life. All right. Well, I hope you enjoy this episode. And like I said, if you do, would you please share it, like it, subscribe to it? And that is so encouraging, and it allows me to continue to attract great guests because I like to have interesting conversations with interesting people, and hopefully conversations that will help you to enjoy your journey. All right, guys, we're going to have a fun conversation here. This guy is just the real deal. I met Rod in the past, I think I don't know how long ago it was, like 6 months ago I met you.
Probably so. I think April.
Yeah. And here's the thing, guys, I'm just going to just complete clarity and revelation here. I spent like 2.5 days with this guy. That's it. I spent 2.5 days with this guy, but I feel like I've known him for years and years and years and years. And I begged him to join my podcast, and I'm so grateful to have Rod Jones here on our podcast. Rod, welcome, man.
Thanks, man. Trying to rearrange. It's great to be here, man. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So, I mean, you are a ministry leader. You're a world changer. You're a pastor. You're a warrior, a defender of pastors and their wives and families. You love the church. But I got to ask you about cryptocurrency, dude. Are you still dabbling in cryptocurrency?
I am, man. I am. I just like a week ago, I came back from a couple trips and trying to unplug, and just ended up getting crazy on my personal bank account and bought all kinds of stupid stuff. And I'm going, what did I do?
Yeah, I have. That's my hobby. And Rod and I, we connected over conversations about Bitcoin and Ethereum, and if you don't know about cryptocurrency, maybe good for you. I don't know, but it's kind of a hobby of mine. And Rod, I appreciate the fact that you're a connoisseur of cryptocurrencies.
Absolutely. And it's a good time to be in right now. Whenever this goes live, we don't know, but like today is a good.
Exactly. Today's a very good day. And if you, I would just say, just my little bit of wisdom on cryptocurrency is only invest money you can lose. And you are buying speculation, but it's pretty fun. So, hey, tell me your story, man. Where are you located right now? I don't even know where you live.
Sure. No, I live in Dallas. And,
okay.
And it's great because it's in the middle of the country, and I can get kind of anywhere on a plane in 3 hours. So that was kind of strategically planned by God.
Okay. Are you from Texas originally?
No, man. I'm a transplanted Californian, but some years. So I call myself a Texan now.
Okay, we lost you there for a second, but you're translated from Southern California?
From Southern California, yeah. I spent time in Southern and Northern. I call Sacramento home, but it's always cooler to say you're from, the beach and Newport Beach and all that kind of stuff, but all over the state. But love Texas. We felt God told us to move out here, and love Texas. At first, we just liked Dallas. We didn't like the rest of Texas, but man, anymore, it seems like we love ourselves some Texas.
That's cool, man. Brisket?
Yeah, definitely. 24-hour smoke, man.
Texas, man. Texas. Okay, so there's some idiot. I lived in Texas for a few years going to graduate school. Okay, so some of my memories of Texas are suburbans, lots of suburbans. At least there used to be. And then the wave, there's the wave, you have your hand on the steering wheel, and it's like that's how you wave to people. And then you guys use the emergency lane in a really interesting way. So if you're on a highway and it's 2-lane, there are these huge emergency lanes. And people, like if you're coming up on somebody and they're going slower than you, they'll pull over in the emergency lane and keep driving and allow you to pass. It's this thing we experience in, do they do that in Dallas?
I don't think they do that anymore. No, like they will force you into the emergency lane so they can zoom by you in their giant, armor-clad Suburban.
What has happened to Texas? Oh my goodness.
Gotten selfish, man. Maybe it's too many influx of people from other states coming.
Like California.
Oh gosh,
You can watch
there's
this
a lot of transplants,
dude. Yeah. Did you always want to be like, so what, like you're in ministry, but you're in a parachurch ministry. So tell me like your story as far as in regards to your faith walk.
Yeah, so been a pastor longer than I haven't, and just really kind of took one day at a time. Stayed in youth ministry for a long time. My last role at a local church was here in Dallas, and I did a lot of age-based ministry. After that, for the next 5 years, I was part of a teaching team of a church in California, living here in Dallas, but close to the airport. And so 3 times a month, I was either in Vegas or Ventura or just north of LA where our live campuses were. And it was kind of cool, man. Just blow in, blow up, blow out, hang around people. It was cool. I didn't have to go visit people at the hospital, but I got to do all the good ministry stuff, speak and then pray with people afterwards and mentor and, eat a lot of food with people before and after services. And so that was like my last church opportunity. And then I knew once we left our local church that God was saying, you're going to end up doing something that you're probably not going to be able to put your resume in for and stand in a line to, ask if you could work here. And so I knew it was going to be unique. We just had no idea, what the complete ramifications of that was going to be.
So when you were in local ministry, what were some of the things that fed your passion?
And loved leadership, loved maximizing things. And so people and relationships and trying to get the most out of people, it was discipleship. And so, I don't want to boil it down to a word that we kind of go, been there, we talked about that forever, but like, I loved seeing people go to the next level. I loved seeing people grow, whether they first got saved and then, started developing spiritual passions, or, taking somebody that was kind of dead on the pew and just, kind of going, man, we can really grow. I can be the person that God wants me to be. John 10:10. I came, the thief comes to steal and kill and destroy, but I came to give you life. And so when people get full of life and, they're healthy and their soul is full, it just kind of gets me going.
Yeah. Okay. So I love asking this questions like this because I feel like you can learn a lot. So what are any strategic mistakes you made early on in ministry and you're like, oh my goodness, if I could go back and do that again?
Yeah, man. Two things come to mind, and they're pretty similar, and it would be kind of self-rationalization of kind of saying like, I got this, like whether it's from, Bible college going, well, I could be a banker or an attorney or a pastor. I'll be a pastor, it's kind of, you just kind of pick what you do. And then you go, well, I can do that because I'll either go to a bank or a law firm or a church, and I'll just, get a job. And it's so much different than that. And I don't want to get into calling and, those kind of things. But I think, my own personal journey when God said, go into ministry, was so much more than get an education and then get a job. It's been a lifestyle. It's been an incredible journey. And so when I embrace that I'm on this Jesus journey, if you'll let me, it's much better than a career path. And I think that kind of leads me to my second thought. And that is that I would just think too small. I would think like, I gotta, punch a clock, and I gotta work at a church, and I gotta, work 9 to 5. But it's so much more than that. And I think I didn't really notice that until I jumped off and started a ministry where God just says, go do this thing. And I'm like, but I don't have a paycheck. Go do this thing. But I don't have an office with a title on the door. Go do this thing, And so, just kind of like this autopilot, I guess, is what I would go back and change.
So you go back, and think about that season in your life. Who, like, if you think about the people that poured into you, you don't have to name names or anything, but like, what were some of the qualities of the people that really poured into you in a meaningful way?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think I liked people to see in me things that I didn't see in myself. Um, we could look at the life of Christ and see how he did that. He didn't didn't see people where they were at, but he saw them where they would be. And so I think people that, have the understanding of either, stuff is a supernatural thing, a spiritual gift, or just a practical thing of being around people. You and I are around people all the time, and we can kind of pick out of a crowd, like, this guy's going to make it. She's got her chops down. This is going to be great. And so I loved it when people just didn't see that and, kind of go, oh, that's cool. He'll make it. She won't. But people that said, hey, Jones, here's what I see in you, or I got an opportunity. I want you to do this. I'm like, I can't do that, but like I could. And so it was just people, whether, they just saw stuff in me that I didn't see, or whether they were just hearing from God. But I love those people that stretched me beyond my comfort level.
Mm-hmm. As you think about what people saw in you, is there something that as you were growing in ministry that you thought was a liability, but you realized is actually an asset?
Yeah, like I said, I spent a lot of time in youth ministry, and I was always kind of the fun guy. And they would always say, hey man, we're going to do our district camp, and you're in charge of the games, and stupid stuff, and shaving balloons and run around cones and all that stuff. I'm like, come on, I'm a spiritual guy. I need to preach, or I need to, give prophetic words, or I need to do something. But I realized that kind of got me into some doors that I wouldn't normally have been in. And I think people saw that was more of a personality thing than necessarily a gifting thing. And so, I don't shave a lot of balloons these days, but I do still like to have fun. And so, when I met you on the trip there, I mean, we immediately kind of connected, like kind of sparring verbally and just having fun. And so I think, kind of even relating to the back question, the previous question, is that when people see things in me that was beyond a personality quirk, or even, being the class clown out of insecurity, people would call out some leadership gifts, and people would say, this is what I see God doing in you.
Yeah. I want to lean into that just a little bit more. I've been going to a conference almost every year at Church of the Highlands called the Grow Leadership Conference. And at the leadership conference, Chris Hodges talks about joy. And one of their core values of their church is choosing joy. And Rod, one of the things he says in regards to joy, and a lot of things actually, but in regards to joy, is he challenges his team to take responsibility for every room you're in. Take responsibility for every room you're in to make it more joyful. So can you kind of walk me through, because I've been in rooms with you, albeit 2 days, but I've been in rooms with you, and I know enough about you that you take responsibility for every room you're in, even if it's a beach in the middle of nowhere. Like, so can you kind of walk me through the strategy when you walk into a room? Because it's a stewardship. Let me give you a little context. I remember meeting a businessman many years ago, and he talked about when he walks into a conference room for a business conference, he says, I picture everybody as a potential client, and I work the room. And I've seen Pat Williams do that, who used to be a general manager for the Orlando Magic. I was with him at a conference, and I watched this guy work the room like he was a nobody, just pour into people. Okay. So can you kind of walk us through, because I believe you take responsibility for the room to make it more joyful. Like, what's that process happen in your mind? You just do you have to like, oh man, like, I don't want to do this, or like, it just seems so natural and organic.
Sure. Well, first, I'm an extrovert, so, it's easy. But I like what you said about stewardship, and like, there is some responsibility, I feel like, in relationships and in groups. And so I think a lot of times when I go into like either a boardroom or a business meeting or something, man, sterile and gross, and everybody's secure and everybody's looking around. So I go, I just want to come from a different page in the playbook. I don't want to come in and go, man, it sucks. Somebody's going to get fired. We're going to talk about negative things. We don't have enough money. I mean, we're going to talk about that anyway. So I just kind of come in and go, what's going on? How are you? And so I really try to like be I think I learned it probably the same way you did from some of these old leadership gurus that said, you can be a thermostat or a thermometer. A thermostat just kind of reflects the temperature of the room, but a thermostat sets the temperature of the room, but a thermometer just kind of reflects it. And I go, I want to set the temperature. And so coming in with a bag of donuts, coming in with a great story, coming in with a smile, or a lot of times I'll do when I don't even know people in a room, I'll just come around and just shake everybody and just introduce myself. Hey, Rod Jones, how are you? And I was at a networking event last month, and I did that. There was several hundred people. It was at a a house outside in Colorado. And I was walking around going, hey, my name's Rod Jones. I haven't met you yet. And so I kind of go, and this reminds me of Bob Vance Refrigeration. And so for the next dozen people, I was just, they heard me kind of like go, hey, I feel like I'm Bob Vance. And so the next dozen people I went, hey, Bob Vance Refrigeration, Bob Vance Refrigeration. I there like 12 people. And by the end of the night, people are like, so Bob, how long have you been into air conditioning? I'm like, oh.
So, if you don't know if you don't know what Rod was just talking about, I actually feel sorry for you. Like that was a great reference to a great TV show. Okay, so man, listen to this. So I know people in my audience, and we got some men and women who are in ministry. All right, and they walk into the pulpit on a Sunday morning and they're defeated, they're sad, they're discouraged, they've been fighting, COVID stuff, and maybe they're underpaid, maybe they feel undervalued. How does that man or woman, as they walk into the pulpit to serve the Lord, can you coach them on how to choose joy, how to be a thermostat in that situation, a very real life situation where they're like, I don't even want to be here. How do we do that?
Well, man, we're going to get real right now. The gloves are coming off. And I would say, emotions are fleeting, right? I mean, they're indirectly affected. We can't live our life, saying I want to feel this emotion. But at the same time, if time and time again, coming up to the pulpit and go, I really don't want to be here. Now, look, we've all said that, right? But if that is your thing and you're going, I've been 6 months of saying, I didn't sign up for this crap. You may need to reevaluate, right? So that's for the 6 months, unless you just know God is saying, you're in a tough season. It's going to be 7, 8 months that you're just going to get your butt kicked.
Yeah.
But for those times that we all show up and just go, oh man, I need the joy of the Lord, or I need a double espresso. I mean, we've all been there.
Yeah.
And I would say it comes down to calling. God has called you to this group, to this people, to this time, to this pulpit, to this hour, to this calendar date. And I would say it also has to do with your responsibility. People are looking at you, and as it is as a pastor, pastors are leaders. And if people are looking to the leader of this thing to go, hey man, I need something from this guy. I mean, that's our whole MO for our ministry, for our career, for our occupation, for our life, is to give and give and give. And so, man, I would say get prayed up, get filled up, minister from the overflow. And even though you don't feel like it, just knowing that you have been living your life full, then even if you don't feel like you're full, when you get up to the pulpit and you get ready to lead a meeting, or you get ready to, have a tough conversation, you're still going to know that you have the confidence of knowing that you're full, right? So it's beyond emotions, because you've been living right, and you've been in the presence of God, and you're in shape, and your emotions are good, and your mental thing is going strong. And so when you jump up, you go, I have stuff to give. I don't feel like it, but I know I've been called, and I know that God's got me here for now. And this group, this congregation, or whatever, they need what I do. And so you get up and you be faithful to what God has put in your heart, and you get at it. And so some of it, suck it up, buttercup, but some of it is, we may not feel like it all the time, but we still have more than we think we know.
Okay. That is so rich. You talk about being filled. Okay. So what fills you? Two-part question. What fills you? And as you think about, Rod, what fills you up, what fills your soul, how much of that filling is intentional, or you seek it, or how much of that is just kind of it comes to you? Like I want people to understand. Okay, so I want to be filled. Like I want to so what fills you, and then how much of that you intentionally seek being filled, or it just happens?
Man, great question. By the way, you ask great questions.
Well, thank
for
you.
all of our 2.5 plus 1 day. That is definitely a strength.
Thanks, bud.
Man, it's hard, but it's a choice that we made in the big picture. We said, yes, I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose fullness. We chose that, 10 years ago when we said we're going to take this church. We chose that 15 years ago when, we graduated Bible college. We chose that 5 years ago and we said, I will be pastor. And so in the big picture, we chose that, right? But then again, you have to have the confidence of knowing that you are in the space that God has for you. Two quick illustrations, if you don't mind. A lot of times I'll take my dog on a walk on a trail, and there's a gentleman I talk to every once in a while. Don't know him, don't know much about him, but I talked to him yesterday, and he said, "Hey man, I just celebrated 33 years of marriage." I'm like, "Oh man, that's awesome! Congratulations!" He goes, "Yeah, people ask me what the secret is." He goes, "The secret is there's no secret." Like, okay. He goes, "I took some vows." He goes, 33 years ago, I took some vows, and I just live by those vows. And so I'm guessing he's a religious guy, Christian of some sort. We've never had that conversation. But I just thought, what a solid guy. And so, he chose that, and he didn't unchoose that. And hopefully his wife doesn't unchoose that or didn't unchoose that. And so I think we said yes to the bigger picture. And then another thing I would say is that, it used to be a trite phrase growing up. You got to minister out of the overflow. And true though, I know you had your little Colorado cup, and I got some soda water here. And, as long as this cup is full, there's something to give. But when we let it go all the way down, man, there's just nothing left. And what I found out is that, we have a little cup, and, I'm seeing you're drinking out of a much larger cup.
Yes. And I'm drinking a smoothie. Cup in. Per your request, it's a smoothie with, I have banana in there too.
You're skinny, you can get away with that. Some of us keto folk can't do banana right now. But if you have yourself full, but then God says, "I'm going to enlarge you," and I have a quarter of a glass here, and if I poured that into your cup, it would barely cover the bottom. And so when we go through those seasons in life that we've already chosen, right, the big picture, but then we get up to this place where you're like, "Man, God, I thought we were doing good, and I'm finding myself empty." Well, it's because God has stretched you, or you've been in this journey that your vessel is now a bigger size. And so you owe it to yourself and to those people around you to fill yourself up more. So when you have a tiny little cup, man, a couple ounces, man, you're like full. When you have a giant gallon container, a couple ounces, you're empty. And you may be fuller with the larger cup than you were. You may have more of the Holy Spirit or the gumption or the juice or whatever, but you need a lot more because your container is now expanded. And I think that also is something that we said, God, when I'm in the ministry, I want to grow. I want to do this thing. I don't want to just sign on and go, 75 people, for the glory of Jesus till the rapture, and that's it. No, everything about our spiritual human nature says we are in this thing to grow this thing. And so that's what happens. And so
can I stop for a second? I want to stop you for a second. I just want people who are watching and listening to what you just said was brilliant. So we're talking about what fills you. And I love that you instinctively went to the vessel. You're like, whoa. Like, let's look at your vessel first. Have you allowed God to expand your vessel? Because so seriously, because if I'm a Dixie cup, and you're like, well, here's what's going to fill your soul. And I'm like, well, okay, that's all well and good. But as you're talking, I'm like, dude, I want to be a super big gulp. Like, give me that water tank they bring out in the back of the truck. And
yes,
that's I love how you instinctively said, wait a second, no, before we talk about what fills you, we got to talk about the size of your vessel. Like, that'll preach, man. and let God expand it.
I love it. And then that's how our capacity gets more, right? It's just, sometimes we look and we just go, I'm not doing much for God. Then we turn around, look behind us, and we go, whoa, I guess, the years have been good and I've done stuff. But then we look in the future and we go, I don't know how I'm going to get there. But invariably 5 years later, we'll look back and go, whoa, I did even more.
Yep. Okay. So as you think about that, you think about the vessel. So what fills you? Like, what are the things that fill Rod Jones, that give you something to, you talk about preaching from the overflow. What is it that becomes that overflow in your life?
Sure, man. I love relationships. I love meeting all different kinds of people. I'll just go down, and I work in community environments because I get to meet new people that way. I'm the guy that when I go to the store across the street, I know all the checkers. When I go to the gym, I know people at the gym. When I go to the lounge, I know all the people in the lounge. And so relationship for me, I need that down too sometimes, to kind of go, okay, I don't really feel like people right now. And I found out this, my son's in 7th grade. He gets up every morning, sometime between 6:45. And if I haven't got a good handle on the day right then, I'm just filling up my cup, whether it's spiritually, emotionally, just going through the day, praying through my schedule, those boxes that I have to get so, I don't know if I'm releasing these, magical endorphins, or if, it's just me checking some stuff off the list that I get to go, okay, I'm strong with that. So if I have the confidence of knowing those things are getting checked off, the little hanging chads, if you were, whatever, then I'm better too. So relationships, and then knowing that all this straggly stuff is care of, it helps invest in more relationships. And so I kind of entered this upward spiral, I suppose.
Okay. So relationships really fill you. You mentioned your family. You mentioned your family. How do you keep it in balance? How do you keep in the balance? How do you personally keep the balance, between, because I know you love, I do follow you on social media, and I know you got a really great family. How do you keep that balance between ministry and family?
First of all, it's not me. I don't think I'm the one that keeps the balance, because you could probably typecast me and go, let's see, raging extrovert, like, probably not detailed, probably flies by the seat of his pants, and none of that would be true. That's false. But I really have to have the Spirit of God in my life. If I don't have, and I'm not trying to give you some religious answer and pivot and not really talk about me, but if I don't have Jesus in my life, I don't have the Holy Spirit, man, I'm in trouble. Really, really, truly. I couldn't. I mean, I feel like I'm on the line so much, and I've said yes to that being on the line, that I have to have, my cup has to be full every day, because at the end of the day, it is empty. Mm-hmm. And so if I start off with a half empty cup, I'm in trouble already. And I know it's going to wear out. So I need the relationship with the Holy Spirit. I need the relationship with an amazing wife. And I know everybody brags on their wife, as they should. She's kind of the pace car, and so, I'm flying. I usually fly 100 times a year, and, I'll come home after, a 3 or 4 day trip. And, she's like, you got to get better at reentry. You're reentering, our ecosystem has been fine, and you've been flying around doing whatever you do. She thinks I live to boondoggle, by the way. And so when I come off my boondoggles, AKA ministry, I need to pay attention. And so I find myself in my own personal balance, but I come in and my personal balance does not fit in with my family balance. So I have to kind of, I know you're a track coach. And so I kind of have to keep strive with my family, kind of going, when do I do the handoff? We got to run it before, the stick happens. So hard. And I gotta be honest, man, it's a multi-time a day thing often for me. Sometimes it could be, I'm once a week, I'm making sure I'm balanced. Sometimes it's once a day. A lot of times it's once a day. A lot of times it's multiple times a day. I'm just kind of going, am I in the rhythm now? Am I up in the morning? Am I praying? Am I, getting some exercise in? Am I full enough to let my day go and make those withdrawals? And then sometimes there's the bigger picture of, family and life and the 365 days that we look at.
When you think about, I want to talk about your wife for a second, because I've never met her. What is one of the most effective ways she ministers to you?
Oh man. She trusts in me enough to kind of let me do my thing. She lets me go. And she doesn't bust on me. I'm not even explaining this well. She lets me fulfill the calling that God's got on my life. And, she's a CPA. And so she kind of stuck to the computer, and she does, her thing at a big accounting firm. And that's her deal. And then I'm all over the place. She'll go for like 4 or 5 days in this new normal, or she won't even leave the house. She'll go out for a walk or something like that, but like, car doesn't move. And I'm like gone day. And sometimes on a plane, sometimes whatever. But so she allows me to have my space, but yet I know that I'm crazy in love with Jesus and crazy in love with her, that, we know, even though we're gone for a season, or, we haven't seen each other in hours, or we're together too much. I had to fight her for the space today, because otherwise I'd have been like some closet, huddled up going, hey, Aaron, can you?
Okay, so you work with, we're going to get into a second about what you do in ministry right now and how you got into that. But I'll just give people a teaser that one of the things you do is you spend a lot of time with pastors and their spouses. So while we're on the subject of marriage, like, can you speak to pastors and their spouses right now, like to needs that you see, to encouragement they need to hear, to like, just like what, as you think about, okay, man, there are men and women watching this right now who aren't married and who are in ministry. just like, what would you say to them right now, as far as like just a word of encouragement or just a word of insight?
Mm, I don't know if I have much in regards to that. I just think sometimes I just look back and go, I don't know how I got here, but thank the Lord I did. And I'd say, like we probably all do this in our wedding ceremonies, right? We have the holy triangle that you have the two individuals, and you draw closer to Jesus and you draw closer to each other. And I mean, it's cute and it's in our ceremony, but it's real, man. It's real. So, pay attention to that. And I would say this, that man, there's going to be good times in marriage and there's going to be bad times. There just is. But
Mhm.
like the guy I met on the trail, hey, the secret is there is no secret. You made some dang vows. You said, till death do us part. You said, I do. You said, through sickness and health. And even if you don't say those things, we all know that you did, because that's what we do.
Yeah.
So, you know what? Suck it up, buttercup. In marriage, I'm like, hey, man, there's challenges, there's problems, there's reasons. But man, I don't feel like I want to love my wife. I feel like I'm a good husband a lot of times. I've been in seasons where, man, it's bad, 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 bad. You know what? Get some counseling. Call Aaron. Get a hold of me. I'll talk with you. Um, don't just stuff. Don't just medicate with work, substance, or diversion. Um, but you know what? Just make a commitment, or make a recommitment, and just know that, especially in ministry, in business too, but in ministry especially, I think we're having relational troubles in our marriage. It can easily spill a lot of other things,
Mhm.
and the enemy can really just get in our ear and go, well, who are you going to preach this Sunday when you're having tough conversation with your wife? Or who are you to do this when you can't be perfect, or whatever? And so there's a lot of traps, I think, that come with that. And so talk to somebody, get help. I mean, seriously, call one of us.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of getting help, you helped me a lot. Like I said, I was with you for a couple of days at a retreat, and with you, that your ministry leads. And it made just a huge impact on it just made a huge impact on me. And I've been thinking about it and processing it. You gave me tools, you and your team gave me tools that I've been using. Okay. So here's what I want you, like, I know what I think you do, but like, what do you do? Like, what do you call what you do? And then how did God call you into that?
Sure. And if I just kind of like jump up on my soapbox, feel free to, pause,
Okay.
and we can do a deep dive on something. So pastoring is my background. Love people, love Jesus, love my family. And so didn't really pay much attention to like a career path. I just knew I was going to love people and pastor. And after, during my last church assignment, when I was flying and speaking a lot, I did a lot of networking stuff in Dallas. And so we'd come back home and we'd launch these just relational networking lunches, just, monthly lunch meetups. And, we'd launch to, 50, 60 people. We'd have all these pastors coming in. It was great. I was at free lunch and we're networking and talking to each other. And you're like, hey, I've been in ministry, 10 years and I didn't even know your church was around the corner from mine. And so it was awesome. But then I see this 50% like drop off rate, like in a year. I'm like, this is weird. And I mean, we had like 10 groups going at one time. And I thought, this is a fluke. This is not an outlier. There's like legitimately 50% of the pastors that we work with right now are jumping out of ministry, or leaving, or finding a new church, or changing addresses, or whatever. Any reason you could think of. And I'm like, this is weird. And so then I read the stats. The book Leading on Empty by Wayne Cordero just really rocked me. And maybe we can talk even about, there's some other resources I think about. But I read the stats about the insecurity of pastors, and the atrophy rate, the fact that most pastors would do another job if they could. And I thought, dear Father, this is the hope of the world. This is the church of God, and the leaders are insecure and unhealthy and, walking away. And I'm like, this is not okay. And so I said, God, well, let's do something. And so, like all things that, kind of happen accidentally, God has his plan. And so I just started calling some pastor friends. I'm like, hey man, look, I'm gonna be in LA this weekend, fly out, meet me. We're gonna, kind of spend some time, getting in each other's lives. Say, meet at the Hilton LAX. And I'm not going to tell you anything else, but it won't cost you a nickel. We're going to pay for all your, food and transportation, and just get here. And so for whatever it was, I just started meeting up with all these pastors, and we just kind of had these pastors come in and we go, hey man, let's take care of each other's lives and souls. And we pray for each other. And God just kept telling me, do more for pastors, do more for pastors. So we kind of organized and we got a board, and then we said, we're going to do like a couple of trips, and we're going to just, take pastors, for a 4-day kind of soul care excursion. And we didn't know what that meant. We were just trying to be cool. At the time, The Amazing Race was on, and we're like, ooh, just meet us here and be like The Amazing Race. And we threw them all in a van and went down. Next thing you know, we're at Santa Monica, and they were like, whoa, this is cool. And then we ended up Hollywood Boulevard and eating, chicken and waffles down at Roscoe's. And so, God just kept saying, do more and do more. And I'm like, okay. So, I had the time when I wasn't speaking. And so 2 years ago, last August, so we just passed our 2nd-year birthday. Yay.
That's right.
That I jumped off my full-time job, and I said, all right, God, I'm going to do this full-time. And so we felt like we have a rhythm. We do a lot of trips, we do services, we do some coaching and some other stuff. But basically the bottom line is we do things to help pastors and leaders keep in ministry and stay healthier while they do it. So stay in longer. And so we're trying to come at those stats, those horrible, abysmal stats about pastors. And we're just doing this, we'll do 25 trips this year. You were part of one of them in April. And this is kind of a space that God's opened up for us now, but we do a lot of different things. And so the bottom line is just keeping people healthy. We were talking about right before we started recording is we do a lot of work on our soul. And I don't know if you want me to go there right now.
Yeah. I want to, let's get 1 second. Hold on for that for 1 second. Because you talked about, because as you're talking, Rod, I had a thought that I had when I was with you in person. I was like, man, this guy loves pastors really well. You love pastors really well. Can I ask you to speak to people who are listening, who love their pastor or who want to love their pastor really well, people in the pew, so to speak? What can congregations do to love their pastors well?
Man, that's again, a great question. There's a lot of times in churches a disconnect between what the pastor thinks, how he's leading his church to where, and the methodology. And the congregation says, yeah, my pastor's leading me, and here's where he's leading us. And it's a complete disconnect. I mean, it is night and day, as you know. And I think I would encourage people to rally around their pastor and first of all, pray for him or her and love on them and take them unconditionally. That there's a saying that says those that are rowing the boat don't have time to rock the boat. Mm-hmm. And if you're praying for your pastor, you're not causing trouble for your pastor. And if you're listening to this podcast, you are probably not doing that anyway. But I would say, love your pastor, support your pastor. There used to be in the generation past like this, oh, the pastor's the man of God, he can do no wrong, and anything he does, we're going to support that. I think we're beyond that, because we know the pastors are human. And so feel free to, have your pastor over for coffee, or feel free to engage him as a friend if that works. And if it doesn't, then that's fine too. You can't be friends with everybody. But I think pastors are people too. And if they have grace from their congregation and they have encouragement and people support them, I feel like that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I can give a resource. There is a book, a friend of mine wrote a book called Lift Your Pastor. And I don't think I even told you about that, Aaron. We can send some links in the
there'll be in the show notes, and I'll put a link to that. The book Lift Your Pastor, and it's about ways to encourage your pastor.
It is. It's really kind of encouraging a pastor to get a friend.
Oh,
because again, a lot of pastors are lonely and they don't want to be friends with other pastors because they feel like, friends, then that means, their church is going to be better than mine, or they're going to take some of our people in our congregation, or who knows, whatever. A lot of times it's like the dog mentality, the neighborhood dog running around and like, hey, I'm peeing on that. That's mine. Hey, I'm going to pee on, that's mine. You can't have it. And I don't want to share. Yeah. Sorry. No, we can cut that too.
That's good. That's good. No, hey, can I, you're right. And I want to make sure, I want to just highlight something you just said. A lot of pastors in churches that I'm connected to as well, they're lonely, man. And they don't have friends, and people assume that they have friends, and you can be, well known, but not known. And I think that's a really important thing you pointed out, that people need to remember is listen, there are a lot of lonely pastors out there. and especially in like coming out of the season we're coming out of, because you know, a lot of churches are divided over issues, and it just, it can be really, not that the pastor needs a pity party. You know, we're not victims. We were called into this. We love what we do, but man, there are a lot of lonely pastors out there who need a friend.
Pastors that are listening right now, you have permission to reach out to somebody else and say, I'm lonely. You have permission to reach out to somebody and say, I need you to pray for me, right? You have permission to say, I don't know what in the world I'm doing. Or like, look, man, I've been like, you know, a year and a half stuck in my house and I don't know who I am anymore. You have permission to say that that's okay. And you have permission not only to say that, but you have permission to find people to help you. You have permission to call myself or Aaron or, you know, somebody in your world. You have permission to reach out and do that. So please do. You need to do that. You can't just do this on your own.
No, you can't. No, you can't. It's I have so much respect for the men and women I know in ministry who have reached out to me for help, or yeah, it's you're not alone, and the enemy wants you to be convinced you're alone, and you know, you're defeated, and no, you're not alone. And I'm so glad, Rod, you said that. That you have, yeah, those are great.
And then let me say this too. Let's just not pretend anymore, right? So not only do you have permission to be real, but you have permission to say, you know what, I've been medicated, right? Maybe that was substance abuse, but we medicate with work, right? We medicate with hobbies. We do all kinds of diversionary tactics to try and delay the conversation. And we feel like, you know, if I just delay it, somehow there's going to be a breakthrough or whatever. Sometimes you just need to deal with it. And so again, we give you permission to deal with that stuff too. We've all been like, kind of like finding the new normal in this post crazy COVID world. And, you know, last year we in Replenished, the organization that you came on our trip with, we did 12 trips in 2020 in COVID. This year by April, right after, you know, we were on our trip together, we filled up our 25th trip just in 2021. And I think the reason that it exploded is because people were realizing like, hey, I need to do something. I need some help. I need some group think. I need to be around some peers in a super safe space. And I need to emote and dialogue and, you know, all those kind of things. So not a selfless ministry plug, but I'm just, I think that the need is out there. And so
Man, no,
you're not alone.
I brought you on here because I wanted to plug your ministry. It radically impacted my life. Yeah, can you tell us, what do you want to tell us about Replenish?
Sure. I gave you the, you know, kind of the little, you know, phrase is we try to help pastors stay healthier and in ministry longer. And we've reached a lot of business communities with the same thing. We talk about our souls. We it's a 4-day, 3-night experience. We call it an experience, you know, we call it a trip or retreat or whatever, but we have a specific rhythm on our trips that we set the safe space. We form some accelerated trust building opportunities. We do truth talk, and then, you know, some of the interactive exercises we've developed really gear down on our soul. And so they're called the 6 domains of soul right now. And the 6 domains of our soul are our domain, our financial, relational, emotional, spiritual, and then our health domain. And there's an acronym.
Wait. Did you just spell your rapper's name in high school? Like you were a rapper in high school. A lot of people don't know that. Did you just use your name? Because I remember you were a famous rapper in California, Sacramento, and I'm pretty sure that acronym was your name, right? M Fresh.
No, like it would have been cool. I wish I would have known that. Where's my time machine now? I would have been a cooler rapper.
M Fresh. That's a great acronym, man. Okay. In all seriousness, that tool that you're talking about was a game changer for me. I took it back, man, and I used it with my entire church. I've used it in marriage coaching. We used it last week in the network that I work with, churches. Yeah, talk about that, man. That because it's about rhythms of life, right?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
We want rhythms, and we talk about balance, but the perfunctory action is that we really want things kind of slow and steady, right? Like we just want the, you know, we don't want the stock market to do this. We just want it to kind of go, you know, up and right.
Yeah.
And life is not lived that way. Life is cyclical. Life, you know, is the sun comes up, the sun goes down, the moon comes up, the moon comes down. You know, the seasons pass, things change. And we want what we think is balance is really not balance. And when we really find the happy line that's just kind of like this, we realize that that's our heartbeat, we're dead, right? Because even a healthy heartbeat is. And so we need these rhythms. And we found out that our soul has a cadence and our soul has a rhythm, and it should be a vehicle tool to let us, get through life. Let me back up a second. We spend billions of dollars every year on healthcare, right? We get poked, we get things drawn out of our body, right? We have electric things put all on us, and they tell us if we're healthy and we're good, and that's awesome, and we should. By the way, most pastors are in really bad physical condition, but I'll step back from there. We found out that we didn't find this out, but we discovered that a lot of people don't really pay attention to their soul. You have a soul, and you have a soul. And if you Bible, that the Bible talks about your soul. King David says, "Hey, soul, what are you doing? Why are you so downcast? You need to trust in the Lord." Right? And so you have these great men of God that say, I have a soul and my soul matters. We don't really pay attention to it. Here's a quick little test to see if your soul is healthy or not. You get up in the morning, you grab your coffee, you jump outside, you jump in the car, you hop on the freeway, and immediately when you jump on the freeway, everybody that's driving slower than you is an idiot, and everybody that's driving faster than you is a maniac. You got soul trouble right there, right? Because that's not the case. Maybe the problem is you. And so we try to get people to look into your soul, encourage you, like, you have not just a soul. You go, soul is good, I'm happy. Soul is up, maybe, life is good. Soul is down, I'm bad, I'm depressed. No, and that's why we use the acronym that I gave you earlier. It's like your soul has different pieces of it, and if you take order of those pieces, and you can find that, maybe your spiritual domain is not doing so well right now, or maybe your financial domain, you're just, you got your max debt, and that weighs on you every day. So you get up and you think you're doing good because, man, you just preached a great message. You and your wife are grooving along. You're spiritually good. You're healthy. You're really great. But then, like, you just have this script to you that says $25,000. That will pull you down, and that can weigh your soul. And so, it's not that you're going to get out of debt right away, but you can make plans and, talk to, financial counselors, and, that will help you, get your soul to a better place. But again, we want to look at, I think I'm getting too much into the weeds here.
No. This is good. This is good.
But yeah, so we think it's really super healthy that you can look into your soul. And obviously, you have taken that tool and you've run with it, and you sent those great pictures. You took your congregation through a soul care exercise, and it just blessed me. And I was bragging on that forever. I'm like, look here, man, look what people are doing with the material that we have. And so super cool.
So go through the M stands for?
The M is for mental. And again, your soul is not just this one thing that, it has different components of it. And so, as I know you did, we call it the spoken wheel. And if you look at, like trying to balance your soul, you can look at these 6 domains and go, are they congruous with each other? Are they, well balanced and in order? And so maybe even just some of those listeners right now is just going, I'm just didn't even know I really had a soul, let alone, like, 6 domains of the soul. What is that again? And so, yeah, so the mental part of the soul, the part where you're processing your mental health, your cognitive ability. And then fresh, M fresh. So F is the financial part. That's kind of self-explanatory. R, relational. Again, your soul could be doing great and healthy, but, then you realize that, you got the family Christmas party is at your house, and you're like, and then your soul is just dropping because you're like, man, I got to be with my crazy uncle and my mother-in-law and whatever else. So you need to make sure your relational, juices are flowing. E is emotional. How do we process these things? A lot of times emotions, we don't even know what emotions are, but if we know that that's part of our soul's domain, we can do a little work on that. And again, in the show notes, we can put some great resources down to help you process your emotions. And then FRES is your spiritual part. Pastors, we're super spiritual, right? I mean, we fast every night, and we do miracles all the time and preach the paint off the wall every Sunday. So our spiritual domain's good. And then S is our health. H is our health. Man, we need to exercise, right? M fresh.
Okay, so here's what I want to take it a step further, okay? Because this tool, so you've explained the 6 domains, okay, and then you applied it. You had an application for it. You talk about the spoke and the wheels, okay. So I want to encourage, if you're listening, you may want to hit pause in a second after I explain this and actually do this. Like, pull out a piece of paper, pull out a napkin, and can you explain? I've been trying to figure out how to explain how to draw the grid. Like, it's basically a line straight up and down, and then you put an X across it. So you'd have 6 endpoints, like a wheel. And my plan is to put a picture in the show notes as well of what you have in mind. But it's you just want to line straight up and down, and then a cross in the middle of it. And then from the center point going out, you have a picture of it?
I just have one on my phone, so I don't know if that,
dude,
it looks
yes,
like
exactly.
backwards.
Yes. Okay, so if you're listening, if you can't see this, hopefully I've explained it well enough. But if you're watching, you can go to the YouTube version of this podcast and see it. But there it is right there. And what you're going to do, see, so what you want to do is 0 is the center point, and then you go out to 5. And what you're going to do is you're going to go through each of these areas, and you're honestly going to assess yourself where you're at, 1 to 5, 5 being you're great. And then 0 being I'm a mess, man, I'm empty when it comes to relationships or whatever. And what I want you to do is pull out a napkin and do this little test, 0 to 5 with each one of those things, and then connect the dots. And it should look like some sort of a wheel. But what you may find out is that your wheel is flat on one side or the other. Rod, dude, the first time, yes, okay, yes. That's exactly what we're talking about. So Rod, the first time you had me do this, man, my relationship was 2. And I was exaggerating, man. I was exaggerating. Like I was feeling so lonely, like I didn't have a friend in the world. And my tire was flat. Man. And so I came out of that experience with you at the retreat and resolved to shore up my relationships. And I found this wheel thing it's like once a month I keep going back to it and taking that test, and it fluctuates. But the application I made at church and with other people is that, okay, so listen, if you got a flat tire, all right, your life is out of balance, a few things are going to happen. First of all, mankind, it's gonna be a rough ride for anybody that's with you, your team, your family, your kiddos. Like, if you're out of balance, man, it's a rough ride. All right. Second thing, it's going to jack up your vehicle, all right, your life. Like, if you got a flat tire, you got to pull over, or you're going to mess the frame up. You're going to do some serious damage. And another thing is that if your life is out of balance, you are a danger to everybody around you on the road. Like, if you're driving down the road on a 2-lane highway in the country and the truck coming at you is driving 65 miles per hour on a flat tire, you are not safe. All right. And so we are not safe when our lives are out of balance. So I want to encourage you. All right. This podcast is so stinking beneficial and practical.
That's right.
What he just said, what Rod just shared with you is solid gold. All right. M-Fresh just dropped. So it is so solid gold. So pull out a napkin. If you're at the gym, pull off to the side of the gym, take a little breather, and get out your phone and draw that little grid. Take that little test. Takes a few minutes, and then mankind, Rod, when we see the areas in our life that need to be developed, we gotta, like you said, we gotta choose to be filled. Choose to be filled.
It's true. I mean, just some people just think like, if I could diagnose my problems, I feel better. Check it off the list. No, that's only part of it. You got to do something about it. And again, you could Google anything, and just if you look and just go, man, my relations are bad, like, what's a good book on relationships? If my health is bad, how do I find Octavia, which I don't sell, but it seems like that's the MLM that everybody's running to right now, but it works. So find something that works for you.
Yep. Now, so let me ask, I want to put something out in front of the audience here, the listeners and viewers. From my being a part of Replenish, one of the best things you could do would be to financially support this ministry. That's one of the best things you could do. And I know we got listeners who are blessed financially. I would encourage you to look them up. We'll put the website in the show notes as well. Look them up And one of the most incredible things you could do to be a blessing to Rod and the ministry is to invest in sponsoring these trips. All right. Now they have, you correct me if I'm wrong, you guys have internal process for screening and selecting, how this all works as far as who comes. And so that's the best thing people could do would be to invest in the ministry and just position you guys to do your thing, And it's an incredible ministry. Anything you would add to that? Did I package that properly?
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I both know the likelihood of somebody going, "Oh, I got a bunch of money, I'm going to go give it all on a donation link," is slim to none. But I will say that if you love your pastor, so if you're not a pastor and you're listening to me right now, I would say love on your pastor. We talked earlier, you can, pray for them and treat them like normal and, take them out for a meal or something. But if we can get your pastor on a trip, and you can find information on the website. So do that. And I also say, if you're a pastor and you're listening right now, we want you on a trip. And so if you know Aaron, then get a hold of him, and maybe Aaron, you need to get a dozen guys with you, and we'll do something for you and your crew in 2022. Look at that rhyme.
Yep.
And so, yes, so do that. But I would say just check it out. And if you're in a place where you're like, man, I need some help, I need, whatever, or I want to, take a look at my soul a little bit more, like in the spoken wheel exercise, find us and, we can get some stuff to you. But I would say, we're looking for people. We're not looking just for anonymous dollars, anonymous donations. We're looking to connect with pastors because, again, if a pastor's healthy and you have a healthy soul, you're a better pastor, you're a better leader, you're a better husband, you're a better father, you're a better podcast host, everything.
My time at Replenish just radically changed. It radically changed. I mean, it's the past 6 months have been radically changed by your ministry. And so I'm unapologetically pushing it, unapologetically saying this is the real deal, man. And so but I'm going to say, dude, if there's somebody out there listening who has deep pockets, I will testify that it is a game changer. You can really bless your pastor and other pastors as well. So, okay, Rod, dude, what's bringing joy to your journey right now?
Man, you with the questions.
It's the last one.
It's an interview, right?
Yeah.
Knowing that I'm not the same on my Jesus journey, knowing that where I was yesterday is different than where I am today, and I'm accelerating and growing in my walk with Christ like crazy, and it brings me joy every day to know that I'm taking another couple steps in my journey, but I don't realize the season I'm in. A lot of times, the steps just don't add up, in the days, but you look back in the months and you look back in the years and you go, man, God has taken me, like he said, from glory to glory. And that has given me a lot of joy. Just knowing that when I'm better, those around me are better. When I'm making strides in my relationship, when I'm up early and full, and the rest of my household kind of follow that lead. And I think the same with the ministry that we're doing right now, and with pastors and other churches, that when pastors are healthy, when I'm growing and I have stuff to give out to pastors, knowing that they're going to take that back and they're healthier to minister out of their overflow, man, it gives me great joy.
Fantastic. Rod, man, thank you so much for taking some time to talk. And I can't wait to see you again sometime soon.
Soon, man, soon.
Be great.
It's been great. Thanks for having me, and great chatting with you, bro.
All right. Thank you. You have a great day, man. Take care.
All right, man. You too.